I want to talk to you about this Latinx thing, right?
Yeah.
What do you think as a Chilean, as a Latin American? What do you think about the word Latino? We'll start
So
there.
when I was younger, I always identify as like Latino because I was like being in the States, being a Latino is like a because I feel like like being Latino or Latina identity is like something that's only in the United States, really. I would
Right.
say maybe in Puerto Rico also,
Right.
but there's a notion of being Latino is very different versus being Latin American because you could still be because
I get what you're saying. I
like
consider myself Latino. I consider Latino also a political identity too.
yeah.
And but as a Latino, I am of Latin American descent.
Exactly, because the Latinos who don't speak Spanish, for
Right.
example, so it's like
Right.
unique. But Latin America is me like, it's
What
like
do you think of
living
Latin
in.
America? Does Brazil fit in there? Does Haiti fit
No,
in
yeah,
there?
yeah. I know, no, yeah. They can. I mean, I can. When I say Latin America, I consider like Latin Continents of America, o sea, continent of, America,
Las Americas.
America, exactly, and also the Caribbean, o
Right.
sea, but
But that's
I
not a
guess you
that's
have
not
to
a
make the
popular
distinction of not.
definition. That's not a popular definition in the United States.
But I would say, but I wouldn't include. I wouldn't maybe include necessarily like the. I don't include like the Latin speaking
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Caribbean,
Well,
like
it's hard
Haiti,
to not.
Dominican Republic,
But
Puerto Rico,
it's hard to
Cuba.
exclude Jamaica. I know it's English speaking. I get that.
It's English speaking,
But
but it's still part of our
they're
America, North
Tainos.
America.
They're Tainos. They're indigenous there. And black, right? So what? Just because they speak English, I speak English. That's my primary language. Am I not Latino, right? I don't know, but and then we're saying, okay, people from Spain are different from people from England. I mean, they're European, right? Like,
No, yeah, they're European, I would say.
but I
Although
get
you
what you're
could argue
saying.
that, for example, in Spain, though, people are more are 100% European because you have the whole because people
Right.
also have Arab descent, because of the
The
Moors,
Moors.
that we say in Spanish.
Yeah.
The Moor, no, thank you. The Moors mixed with Spanish
Catholicism, right?
Catholicism.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're
And
back
plus,
to the word
Latin
Latino.
America.
We're back to the word Latino.
Sorry. But
Yo, I got you
but
off track.
But I think it's more like an English-speaking term because here in Chile, like, we don't say we're Latinos. We say we're Latinoamericanos. We're Latin Americans. Because here you don't because in the States there's also like an ethnicity that was basically based like created like we're Hispanic, for example, like created like for like the US Census,
1970,
because also that's
yeah.
another thing. Because for example, the United States, because race is so different, because the racism there is very strong, but it's also very different because, for example, there's no mestizaje. So when they talk about their melting pot in the United States, they talk about basically a mix of European cultures. You have people, oh, no, I'm Italian and Irish. Okay, but you're still European descent. You don't have mix of races like here in Latin America. Honestly, we can't romanticize it because Latin America most of the time it was based on rape and pillage. But but in the United States, you have people who are most of the population is not purely white, but mostly white. Look at it. Like it's very different versus the racism we have and colorism we have here in Latin America versus like the racism in the United States, because people are so focused like on a drop of blood, because it's like, oh, like because I remember like learning in school, like there was a man that during segregation time he sat like on a trolley, and they're like, no, but you have like 1/8 of African blood, therefore you're not white. Yeah. And it's just like here in Chile, like I'm white because colorism, I'm white, but in the United States, no, I'm not because I have indigenous blood, I'm mixed race.
And 1/8 is what? 1/8 means one great grandparent is black. That's insane. So they can all be white, and you have one great grandparent who's black, and you're black.
Exactly. So because in the United States, so like it's obsessive of like that. That's why I think for gringos and it was like how to see like people who are mixed race, o sea, mestizo, mestiza, coming from different countries and from all over Latin America to the United States, and a mixed race, you can't categorize us like, because here in the census, like in Chile, like like I haven't done the census yet. Actually, no, because it's I don't know how many years it is, but like like for example, you have like indigenous descent, or like you see as here in Spanish we call pueblo originario, like original people, originary. I don't know what the correct English term is, but like no one's gonna say like you identify as Latino, like as a ethnicity, like
right,
because it's like one, and I think it's a category is created in the United States, And also, you like reivindicar, like you like, I don't know what the word in reivindicar in English is, like you profess, I guess.
Oh, yeah,
Reivindicar is like profess,
yeah.
like like being the Latin culture, in the United States, being of Latin descent,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the whole melting pot thing, right? America professes to be a melting pot, but this is another thing that you hear. It's more of a salad, right? In the salad, there's everything, but it's not mixing, right? The tomato's the tomato, the lettuce is the lettuce, right?
It's a salad bowl.
Right, it's a salad bowl, right? And so that's what we have here, and we're very, as Americans, we're very aware of it, right? Because we're constantly told, right, what the percentages are, right? Percentage Black, percentage Latino, percentage Asian, percentage white,
exactly.
percentage Indigenous.
But also, there's so many stereotypes of being Latin in the States. O sea, for example, like they probably say I'm not Latino because I'm white, because I'm light skinned, but just like, but they don't understand it's not race. It's not. There's no way,
Yeah.
Because there's also a notion, and so racism in the United States is so very deep and so very like people say like being American, but they refer to as white people.
Right.
People are descendants of Europeans because treat Black Americans, African Americans as like second class, not even citizens. They treat them like
then you try to tell a white American that people in Argentina consider themselves American too. Everybody in Latin America consider themselves Americanos, right?
Yeah.
And that in the United States, you're Norteamericano or estadounidense,
exactly.
White Americans don't know anything about that at all.
No. Then they get offended. Like, no, but technically, it's just like, no, but actually, though,
So what about the word Latino, Latina? Like, is Latino misogynist? Is it binary? Do we need Latinx? Do we need another word?
O sea, I mean, I think
honestly, I'm asking you honestly. I'm not telling you. I'm not trying to. You know what I mean?
No, o sea, I know that Latinx comes because here in Chile and many places in Latin America, we have started using, like, we call it lenguaje inclusivo, like inclusive language. But it has different forms because, for example, like, if I want to say it, like, if I'm writing, I will say, either I'll say niños y niñas, or I'll say niños with arroba, the at symbol.
Sign, yeah.
Or you can use an X, for example. I think the X looks ugly, so I use the arroba, like the hat symbol. But also there's another thing that's called niñez, for example. Because, for example, like instead of saying like todos or todas, you say todes because it's neutral.
Yeah.
It's more inclusive.
I've heard there's this new word, Latine, with an accent E at the end instead of an O.
Yeah.
Latine.
That's like Beyonce.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, I don't think it's necessary
they do use X in Chile.
Yeah, but it's not pronounced though.
Yeah, how would you pronounce it in Spanish? This is great because you're Spanish and you teach English, so you know what the controversy is, right? Like, because Latinx makes sense.
For example, like when we talk about presos políticos, for example, because it's men and women, boys and girls, or people who don't identify as neither one, as non-binary,
non-gender,
non-binary. Non-gender.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's written with an X, so it's presos with an X, políticos X, or with arroba with the at symbol.
Yeah.
But for example, I guess in talking, most, because we also don't want, they say like the Romans, like when they use Latin, they were very lazy. They don't want to use as many words. So for example, like that's why, for example, when I like talk to people, like, and you use lenguaje inclusivo, you say like todos y todas, so todas y todos. Mm-hmm. Because I personally don't use todes, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll say, like, when in class and I give instructions in Spanish, I'll say no, para que todos, todas y todes, because because some people might advise this one or this one,
I like that idea. I mean, that makes more sense to me than Latinx, right? To say todes, to change the vowel, to make it inclusive, exactly. Right? That makes sense to me.
But phonetically, Latinx does sound like attractive. It sounds like nice. It's like, oh, like, why is that? But also because it's also an English speaking term because it's Latinx. It's not, because Latinx, no, like it's but there's also other ways to, like, for example, like when you talk, for example, like, I want to say los jóvenes instead of los y las jóvenes, you can say la juventud, for example, or for example, like when I write things and I want to talk about los docentes de inglés, no, docentes de inglés. I don't use the article that defines the gender.
All that makes sense to me, right? Because this is, again, I've never heard anybody say verbally the word Latinx, like when speaking in conversation, right? Unless they're talking about the word Latinx, right? But if they're speaking Spanish,
and dear white people, they use the term. That's the first time I think I heard it is
Yeah, but
spoken.
in English, you hear it in English, but I'm saying like
No, but
Spanish
in
speaking
Spanish,
Latin Americans.
no, because we are. I mean, from what I've heard, I mean, maybe in other countries it may be different, but we never consider ourselves like Latinos versus Latin Americans. You know, like even Calle 13, for example, Latin America, like that song, the anthem of Latin America,
Right.
talks about being Latino-Americano. You know, but
Yeah,
always,
I mean,
I've
that's
always felt like, you know,
that's
Latin
inclusive,
American
right?
identity.
Yeah, I mean that's, and in a way, maybe that's what maybe we need to get rid of Latino in America. Like maybe we just need to get rid of that idea and just be Latin Americans who are, because we're, you know, I always say like the reason I'm here in America is because the American government fucked with Honduras and Puerto Rico and made my ancestors have to leave and go to America because there's no jobs in Honduras, right? But if America would have kept its hands to itself, you know, I wouldn't be here because my dad's Puerto Rican and my mom's Honduran. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? I mean, I would be back wherever, you know. And so, just because I'm in America doesn't mean Latinos are the only people who do that, right? Once they go to America, they're not where they're from anymore. There's something else now, and I get that, but you're still where you're from. I think it also
maybe has to do with maybe assimilation in a sense that like you have to do it 10 times harder because you don't have the white. Many cases you don't have the white skin to kind of like to have that privilege, you know, because you're always seen as the other because you know the United States is like mostly white, so it's like you have white people being like, oh yeah, you know, because for example, the people never complain like, you know, like about people coming to the United States. That, you know, the white Los gringos complain like, you know, the racists like say like, oh, people come from Central America, blah blah blah. But you know, they come on someone who came from like France or like Norway, you know, they want to complain because you know they're white.
Right. They wouldn't even know to complain, right? Because they're not.
No, they wouldn't. Or they'd be like, oh, you're from Norway. Oh, that's so interesting. You know.
Yeah. It's.
But it's like, oh, you're from Honduras. You're from Honduras. Oh.
Oh, so are you a migrant? Are you a fucking narco? Are you a fucking? They think I'm, you know, I'm MS-13 or something, you know?